I want to show you what the cosmology, what people considered the structure of the initial order, because it's kind of interesting. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Well, so what are they thinking about? Well, that's the sort of classical view of the world. It's something like that, is that there's a disk, and that's the disk we inhabit. And there's land, that's the disk, and under the disk there's water, fresh water, and then under that there's the ocean. And then on top of that, there's a dome, and that's the sky. That's the firmament. That's heaven. And there's water above that. Well, obviously, because it rains, so there has to be water up there. So that's the way the cosmos was conceptualized, just so you know. Now, it's a phenomenological conceptualization because that's what it looks like, right? And you might say, well, that's wrong. It's like, well, yes, it's wrong in a functional sort of way. It's right from a phenomenological perspective, but it's wrong from a scientific perspective. It was never designed to be a scientific perspective. So, all right, so we won't bother with this part. We'll start here. So God makes animals and plants and all of that, and then at the end of it, this is on the, which day? Sixth day. God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air, and over the cattle and all of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Okay, well, there's two relevant issues there. One is, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, we've already encountered that to some degree. We've already encountered what the nature of the Spirit of God is in this story. The nature of the Spirit of God that creates order out of chaos is the thing that creates order out of chaos. And so the statement here is that there's something about human beings that partakes in that. Now, when I started unpacking this, I thought, okay, look, there's an idea that's at the root of our legal system. And so our legal system is the articulation of the patterns by which we live. And to a fair degree, it's an evolved system. It's a culturally constructed system, but it's an evolved system as well. And it's predicated on the idea that there's something about the individual that the law has to respect. Well, so the question is, well, is that just an arbitrary supposition? Because that's really the question. It's the same question as, is Western civilization founded on something that's a rock, or is it just founded on something that's an opinion? Well, it's the same question with regards to the law. The law assumes that there's something about you that's sovereign. Even if you're a murderer, you have inalienable rights. Now, you think that is a bloody weird thing for any sort of system to have come up with, because the idea that if you're the ultimate in malevolent transgressors, that you still have some sort of sovereign value, it's like that is such an unlikely thing for people to think up that you really have to think a long time about how that might have come to be. Well, there's an idea here. That's the idea, is that there's something about human beings, men and women, because people often complain about the patriarchal structure of the Bible. It's based on a misapprehension of anthropology that was popularized by someone named Gimbutas at UCLA. For her perspective, there's not a shred of historical evidence, although there's some psychological truth in it. In Genesis, both men and women are created in the image of God. And that's quite a remarkable thing, I think. It's a remarkable part of the document, because it's not what you'd expect from a patriarchal, from a document that was designed to do nothing but extend the dominion of the patriarch. It's like you would have left women with the damn cattle. That would have made things a lot easier. And that isn't what happened. So both men and women have this image. And what's the image? Well, that's the image of the thing that can order chaos. And so it's necessary to treat you as if you have intrinsic value, because the fact that you can partake in the process of mediating between order and chaos means that you're basically the salvation of society. That's what it means. And so society can't impose on you to too great a degree, because you are too valuable for even the law to push arbitrarily past a certain point. Now then you have to think. This is where you really have to think about what you believe. Do you believe that or not? Because there's not much difference, really, technically speaking, there's not much difference between that and believing these stories. It depends bloody well what you mean by believe. They're not scientific representations of an evolutionary process. Obviously, the people who came up with them weren't scientists, so whatever they are, they're not that. But they're making a proposition. Now, it's not an accidental proposition, and we know that partly because it's rooted so deeply in these ancient stories. We have no idea how old the Mesopotamian story is. You know, it's the oldest story we have in written form. So we know that. But God only knows how old it is.